Alliance to End the Hitting of Children is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded in 2011 that brings together individuals, groups, and organizations to create a unified voice calling for and working toward an end to corporal punishment. I didn't even know that it existed. An antiquated and dangerous form of disciplining a child, especially in schools and homes. George W. Holden, Ph.D., is the president and is Professor Emeritus at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. After receiving his BA from Yale University and his PhD from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, he was a member of the psychology faculty at the University of Texas at Austin for 23 years. His research interests are in the area of social development with a focus on parent-child relationships. He is the author of numerous scientific articles and chapters. He is a fellow of the American Psychological Society and a former member of the Society for Research in Child Development, and also the Society for Research in Human Development, where he served as a president. He has been on the editorial boards of many journals and was also a member of the State of Texas Task Force. He received the Outstanding Mentor Award in 2010 from the Society for Research in Human Development, the Lightner Sams Foundation Child Advocate Prism Award in 2011 from Mental Health of Greater Dallas, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Center on the Human Rights of Children, Loyola University, Chicago, and a Distinguished Career Award from the International Society for the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect. The list goes on, but I will stop here. An absolute honor to speak to you, George.
Thanks very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Can I address you as George?
Please do, yes.
Or Professor George, okay.
George is fine.
Okay. Right, George. So tell us, what are some of the most common misconceptions about physical punishment?
Well, I think the single most common misconception is parents think that it works as a disciplinary technique because when they hit the child gets upset, right? Starts crying, stops doing what they're doing in the immediate moment. So from the parent's perspective, they're thinking, oh, yes, it's working because my child is learning that he or she should not do what they were just doing. But that's a misconception on many different levels. It's totally from the parent's perspective, not from the child's perspective. From the child's perspective, they are thinking, oh, I'm being hit, and that's upsetting. Yes, because anyone would be upset by being hit. But they're not processing what they did. Typically, they're not processing what they did to cause the hitting. They're more thinking about, ow, that hurts. How could my parent who says they love me hurt me like that? Many children, after that sort of initial reaction, then think, oh, that makes me very angry, or that makes me sad. I'm not going to be nearly as open with my parent because they might hit me. Mm. So they have various different thoughts depending on the child, but it really damages the parent-child relationship. And
Absolutely.
that's what parents don't recognize when they do it. They just see the immediate response, and they're not thinking, they're not observing that 10 minutes later the child may be misbehaving again because it's not a effective technique to use at all. And it just result in lots of unintended negative consequences.
I am surprised it even exists. I'm surprised it even gets validation from schools.
Yes, it's really you could consider it a form of child abuse, but
Absolutely.
the reason that it continues is because it has a long history, for one thing. There are some parents have strong beliefs, partly about the effectiveness because it was done to them. And they think, oh, if my parent did it to me,
Yeah.
then that's a good thing and I should do it to my child. Some parents who are conservative Christians and read the Bible literally, Proverbs, think, oh, the Bible instructs me to hit my child, so I should do that. So there's lots of different reasons why parents continue to do it and schools do it, but it's very antiquated. There's a large research database that shows time and time again that it can result in negative consequences on the child, on the parent-child relationship, both in the short and long term. So it's really something that I'm strongly motivated to try to help end, both in the U.S. and around the world.
Yes, one should. I don't understand the fact that how can you even think of hitting a child who you love so much, right? But it is existing, and they think it is their birthright to do that. Now,
Well,
what
and
is? Yeah, sorry.
I'm just going to say that some parents have these strong positive beliefs about it, but other parents react because they are stressed out, or they lash out at their child because they're tired or they're fed up. So not all parents have this strong belief. Many parents also are kind of ambivalent about it. They think there's some pros, some cons, but they don't have enough self-control in certain cases. They're tired, they're stressed from a long day at work, and they just can't take it, so they lash out at the child and then regret it also afterwards.
Right. I'm sure that's not an excuse. So tell me, George, what does your organization do to help spread awareness that things can be better, things can be done in a different way? And what are the different ways that you help these individuals in?
So our organization is trying lots of different approaches to get the word out that that corporal punishment, spanking, hitting children, slapping, all those different forms, and all those different labels that parents use to normalize this behavior it's an assault on a child. Just like we wouldn't allow an adult hitting another adult, it's not
Yeah.
legal, but we do allow parents to hit children. So we're trying to get to educate parents, both about the research, both about the even the human rights, which Americans typically don't think about human rights of children, but also about there's a better way, and there's a better way to raise children, and that comes under the umbrella term called there's lots of different names: positive discipline, positive parenting, gentle parenting, peaceful parenting. There's dozens of different names for the same approach, which is that parents don't need to ever to hit their children. They don't need to punish. They need to develop positive, good, strong relationship, a mutual respect, and one that is based on cooperation and not permissiveness, but clear boundaries, clear rules, but never punishing a child because it's just not effective. So we're trying to educate parents also in our efforts about positive parenting. We also are working on legislative efforts around the country, focusing on banning corporal punishment in schools. There are now, depending on how you count it, about 18 states that still legally allow corporal punishment, paddling in schools. And so we are pulling together citizens in those states and trying to influence their state legislatures to enact bans about that practice.
Right. I'm curious to know how do they justify having paddling in schools? What is the reason?
Well, there's again, it's similar reasons to the reasons parents will give, because they see the immediate effect and they think that it must be working. They don't really follow these children and realize that a lot of these children
Correct. Yeah.
doesn't promote their academic learning. It doesn't promote their enjoyment of school. In fact, many, their grades drop. They have resentment about the school, the teachers. Some kids drop out after being paddled, some of the older children.
It's humiliating.
So it's very humiliating, right? So there's lots of negative consequences in the schools that the administrators, for whatever reason, either their beliefs or they feel parental pressure to use paddling to try to discipline the children, which really is misguided. And there's much better ways. There are now several different school-wide positive disciplinary approaches that have been developed and studied and shown to be effective.
Let's take a break to understand what Chezuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state-of-the-art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chezuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chezuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chezuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chezuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest.
So let me play the devil's advocate here. What do you do for a particularly difficult child?
Well, as a psychologist, the first thing what you parents need to do is try to find out what's driving that behavior and what is causing the child to misbehave. Is he or she tired? Is she angry about something? Is there often kids will act out when there's problems in the home, when there's marital discord, for instance. Children will act out. When there's trouble at school, when they're being bullied at school, that they can bring that home. So what's really essential is trying to figure out what's going on with that child. And if a parent can't do that, they need to get professional help to try to figure out what's going on and how to address the problem so the child will not be acting out.
Right. Do you also have resources to offer to parents who may be struggling with how to discipline their children without resorting to physical punishment? Do you have any resources like that?
Well, we do have, we operate both two different websites. One is called stopspanking.org, and the other is the Alliance, endhitting.org. And on both sites, we have various written materials. We don't yet, we're thinking about creating some parent educational resource to help parents deal with problematic situations. But right now we're limited to kind of written material on the web.
Right.
Another approach, going back to your earlier question about what else are we doing, one of the things we have done to try to educate parents and school officials is we've held some contests, over 2 different years, contests about generating memes and videos to help parents and school officials recognize why corporal punishment is not a good technique to use. So then we broadcast these winners of the contests to try to alert people and educate people about the problem.
Right. Some sort of a debate kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't view it as a debate because the evidence is so clear that there's not really a good reason they can give for continuing to use corporal punishment. So I view it more as an educational task that we have on us to try to change the tide, which is changing in the United States. There's a clear decrease in approval of corporal punishment. Yeah, but it's slow going, so it's taken a while.
Well, good luck with that. George, do you also measure the impact? Do you have any metric to measure the impact of your talks or your awareness?
We don't have a good systematic way to do that. We are one of the problems is all this takes money to do. If we wanted to systematically measure, we'd like to measure it, and we have worked with other organizations like Prevent Child Abuse America in doing a representative poll, which we hope to publish its manuscripts under review. And we'd like to repeatedly do that to see if we, in fact, are having impact. But at this point, we do not have any good metric. Though, I get contacted periodically by people and say they heard about us, read about us. So I know we're expanding our reach out there. And more people are hearing about us.
Nice. So I was thinking, more like universities with students who are studying or doing their Ph.D, trying to incorporate some kind of metric here to find out for a long-term analysis of the situation. So are you working on something?
No, we're not at this point not doing that, but that's a good idea. If anyone out there would like to do that, please contact me, and love to work on it.
Wonderful, yes. So coming to contacting and helping, how can members of the public get involved and support your organization?
Well, what we do is, instead of what our members, we call them ambassadors, and we love as many people, both in the U.S. and around the world, to sign up. You can join for free, though ideally we'd like a small contribution, one-time contribution for a lifetime membership. So we recommend a $25 contribution, but if people can't afford it, they can join for free and become ambassadors, and then help spread the word. We send out a quarterly newsletter to all our ambassadors to keep them apprised of what's going on, both in the United States and around the world in this domain. And we can use volunteers in various efforts, such as I mentioned earlier. We're compiling names of people in the different states that still allow school corporal punishment, and we're working with them to try to influence their state legislature. So there's various other roles that volunteers could play with our organization if they'd like to do it. So welcome, we welcome one and all.
Yes, please visit our website, chezuba.net, and you can register there for volunteers. You will get so many of them who are interested. And I think this is a topic that most people will feel very strongly about and would want to make a difference.
That'd be great. Yes.
Yeah. George, lastly, what is the vision that you have for the future when it comes to the treatment of children and the use of physical punishment, schools, parenting? Do you have any goals for the next 2 years, 3 years?
Well, so the vision, of course, is a violence-free parenting in schools where corporal punishment is never used. But it goes well beyond corporal punishment. We sort of view this as the first step in trying to help parents become better, more effective, more loving parents. So there's many other behaviors that parents engage in inadvertently, such as some psychological maltreatment, shaming children, for instance, or humiliating in different ways that are very destructive to children's development. So the long-term vision would be working on these multiple different parenting problems that I label as parenting techniques that are problems, but more in the immediate short term, 2 or 3 years. We certainly want to get more states banning corporal punishment, and it's actually quite encouraging what's going on in the United States these days. 2 states have this year have banned school corporal punishment. Both, I think one has been signed by their governor. One more state is waiting. Colorado is waiting on the governor to sign. But there's legislation, there's new bills in, I believe it's 5 other states this year. Most will probably not pass this year, but we can then work with the legislators, both who are promoting it and educating other legislators in those states to pass the bills in subsequent years. So I would hope in the next 3 years that we could maybe get 4 more states at least signing on, and then it snowballs because other states hear about banning and recognize that corporal punishment, paddling kids in schools, is not a good technique. So, and then beyond that, parents hear about it too. They hear about it from the schools, they hear about it in the news, and that I think also helps to influence their own thinking about, should I spank my child? So it's harder to gauge that, as I said, unless we do large studies, which are expensive to track the decrease. But I think that's still that will also be occurring, the continuing decline of parental approval, parental use of corporal punishment.
Wonderful. In conclusion, ending the hitting of children is an absolutely important and urgent issue. It requires the attention of everybody, the schools, the parents, community, individuals, and governments, of course. The use of physical punishment on children not only violates their basic human rights, but also has numerous negative impacts on their physical and mental health and the behavior and development. Perhaps that is why we would explain so many violence incidents in schools today. As we look to the future, we must continue to raise awareness about the harms of physical punishment and work towards creating a world where all children are treated with dignity and respect. This requires, of course, a collective effort, and with organizations like yours, George, we can definitely create a better world for our children and future generations. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Lovely talking to you.
Yes, I enjoyed it very much. And best wishes to you and your work.
Thank you. I really wish this malady comes to an end. I really don't want to hear about it in my lifetime. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.